This is On Point with Miss Britt, bringing you Week 12 college football recap. This definitely was a struggle Saturday. All top 4 teams struggled, so let's get into it. So we had number 1 Georgia versus Kentucky, and they beat Kentucky 16-6. Georgia's running back Kenny McIntosh rushed for a career best of 143 yards, including a 9-yard touchdown late in the third quarter. 3 field goals were made by Jack Paul-Lesney. Stetson Bennett was 13 for 19, 116 yards and an interception. Kentucky had a 99-yard drive that ended with a Will Levis 8-yard touchdown, but they failed on the 2-point conversion. So they tried to rally back, but it didn't happen. And apparently they're blaming that game for the weather. They had strong winds. Funny, when we played up in Chicago, folks had a problem with that, but moving on. So, number 2 OSU versus Maryland. So, the beginning of the game, Trevion Henderson, he had a 31-yard touchdown pass. So it was looking promising. Like, the Bucks came in swinging, and then things just started going downhill for the worse. We had a lot of first half struggles. We only scored 1 touchdown. OSU was down 10-13 going into the half. Now, I will say we did hold Maryland to field goals the first half. And they had 1 touchdown, I believe. All right, so the second half, Lathan Ransom, he blocked a punt, and Denzel Burke returned it 7 yards to Maryland 14. 2 plays later, OSU scores a touchdown. They got their first lead of the game. Dallin Hayden, he came in for Trevion Henderson. Mayan Williams, he already was sitting out because he had got hurt in the Indiana game. So Dallin, he had 146 yards and 3 touchdowns. So on Dallin Hayden's 13-yard touchdown run, we lined up for a 2-point conversion. And then got a delayed game to push us back. So then they sent out the, field goal kicker. And what freaking happens? The field goal got blocked. And Jacorian Bennett from Maryland, he returned the block the block field goal to the end zone for 2 points. So Maryland ended up cutting the 2 touchdown deficit in the third quarter to 33-23. Which then they went on to score on the next drive to make it 30-33. So yeah, everybody was clenching their pearls, holding on their breath, because it was looking bad. But then at defensive ends, Zach Harrison, he came in clutch and he knocked the ball out of Tagovailoa's hand, and linebacker Steele Chambers recovered it for a 1-yard touchdown to win the game. 43-30. Tagovailoa, I can't even say his last name. Maryland's quarterback was 26-36, 293 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he had a great game. But it just wasn't enough. Our defense came in clutch, thank God. And Dallin Hayden, he came in clutch too. CJ Stroud was 18 for 30, 241 yards. And a touchdown. Now, number 3 Michigan, another struggles on Saturday. They barely even made it out this game. But I ain't gonna say too much. All right, Michigan versus Illinois. So Michigan survived. Jake Moody, he kicked a 35-yard game-winning field goal with 9 seconds left. And yeah. So the first quarter, Michigan running back Blake Corum, he had scored on a 2-yard touchdown, but then he suffered an apparent knee injury in the second quarter, and he came back out after half, but he remained on the sideline. He's still questionable, but they're saying that he's going to be playing against OSU, which bring it. Jake Moody, he kicked 4 field goals, and Illinois running back Chase Brown rushed for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. J.J. McCarthy finished 18 for 34 and 208 yards, and Michigan survived 19-17. So they better hope one of their running backs start, Blake Corum or Donovan Edwards, because y'all gonna be relying on McCarthy. All right, next struggle, a barely win. I can't even believe they won this game. TCU versus Baylor. So TCU had no timeouts left and was able to get downfield when Griffin Kell kicked a 40-yard field goal as time expired. I was really shocked. I couldn't believe they got that off. All right, TCU's running back Amari DeMarcado scored on a 3-yard touchdown run, but failed to catch a pass on a 2-point conversion with 2:07 left on the clock. And TCU pretty much burnt all their timeouts before that game-winning drive because they needed a defensive stop so they can get the ball back. So they burnt all the timeouts, ended up getting the ball back, and that's how they got downfield. So TCU's quarterback Max Duggan, he was 24 for 35, 327 yards and a touchdown, and then he also had 50 yards rushing and rushed for a touchdown. Their starting running back Kendre Miller, he rushed for a touchdown, but he got hurt early in the second half. Baylor's Kelsey Johnson had a 2-yard touchdown run in the second quarter and a 12-yard touchdown pass in the fourth quarter. Richard Reese had a 1-yard touchdown run to put Baylor up 28-20 in fourth quarter, and they didn't even score after that. So TCU survives 29-28. All right, number 7 USC versus number 16 UCLA. Now, my only issue with this game was anybody playing defense? I mean, it just was scoring after score after score, but USC, they did make a stop at the last minute to win the game, 48-45. So USC's quarterback, Caleb Williams, he had 470 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 33 rushing, and a touchdown run. And that was USC's first win of the season over a ranked team. So, All right, UCLA quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he had 309 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 81 yards rushing, and then 2 rushing touchdowns. And he basically scored all the points for UCLA. Didn't nobody else score but him, which I'm just like, really? Also he fumbled the ball, which USC converted into 10 points. UCLA's quarterback got picked off by Corey Foreman at midfield with 1:26 remaining, and that's how UCLA lost. And it ruined their chance of tying the game with a field goal or actually trying to go for a score and win. USC receiver Jordan Addison had 11 catches for 178 yards and a touchdown. All right, moving on to number 12 Oregon versus number 10 Utah. Oregon beat Utah 2017. Oregon's quarterback Bo Nix, he had a lower leg injury, but he still was out there playing. He threw for 287 yards and a touchdown. Oregon's defense intercepted 3 of Utah's quarterback Cameron Rising's passes. Oregon's Bucky Irving, he had a 10-yard touchdown run. Camden Lewis kicked a 30 and 41-yard field goals. And Utah's linebacker Kareem Reed returned a fumble 11 yards for a touchdown early in the third. Jalen Dixon had an 18-yard touchdown late in the third quarter, but it wasn't enough to take over them Ducks. All right, so the biggest upset of the weekend obviously was number 5 Tennessee versus South Carolina, and South Carolina rolled all over them. They beat Tennessee 63-38. South Carolina's quarterback, Spencer Rattler, was on fire. He threw for 438 yards and had 6 touchdowns. Hendon Hooker, he suffered a leg injury in the fourth quarter, and it was confirmed that he has torn his left ACL, so prayers to him. That really is sad to hear. You know, he was in the Heisman running, and I just hate to see his season end like that. So he finished 247 yards and 3 touchdowns before leaving the game. South Carolina's Josh Vann and Jaheim Bell caught 2 touchdown passes, and Joyner rushed for 2. And Georgia Tech upset North Carolina 21-17. Also, Virginia had the memorial services for Lavelle Davis Jr., Deshaun Perry, and Devin Chandler. And still, my thoughts and prayers go with the family. And also Virginia's Mike Hollins, he was finally released from the hospital, and he is slowly recovering with his family. And then now let me bring up the college football playoffs. The rankings have changed a little bit, but the top four still remains the same. Number 1, Georgia. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Michigan. Number 4, TCU. Number 5, LSU. Number 6, USC. 7, Alabama. 8, Clemson. 9, Oregon. 10, Tennessee, to round up the top 10, and you can go check that out. Obviously this weekend there's going to be a shakeup. We'll see what happens, so that's all the updates I have for this week, and I'll see y'all next week. Go Bucks. It's the big game. Let's go. Beat TTU win, and I'm out.